said, listen, I have to be stopped. I can't keep on killing like this. Because I get these urges.
On this episode of Chasing Evil, my brothers and I were contacted by Bobby Hagenball to see if we could uncover any information on what happened to her sister, Kimberly Sue Jones. We have decided to meet up with Bobby and to find out more about her sister's case.
My name is Bobby Hagenball, and I'm the sister of Kimberly Sue Jones. She vanished in 2009 from Parkersburg, West Virginia. She was seen leaving her apartment with her child, leaving with her ex-boyfriend, his wife, and their children. They were known to have gone and ate dinner, watched a movie, and he was said that he dropped her off at her apartment around 10 o'clock, 10:30. Since then, she's not been seen. Most of our life, we grew up in Kentucky, in Owensboro. We all headed to Parkersburg. We lived there for several years on and off. We all went our own separate ways as we hit adulthood, so mostly Ohio. Kim stayed in West Virginia around my mom. She was very close to my mom. She had gotten her a new apartment, everything she needed, and had invited many people to come and visit her to see, how well she was doing. I actually have letters of her talking about it, how well her daughter was in school, and like I said, she just instantly disappeared. Kim was the youngest and very petite young lady. She probably weighed about 100, 110 pounds. She was very sweet-natured. She wasn't argumentative, and she kept very quiet. So she was a private person. She had a lot of friends. No cell phone. No transportation, so she relied on other people. She relied on my mother and family friends for all her transportation needs. She just hasn't been found. So.
The day that she went missing, can you walk me through what happened?
The day she went missing, she was invited to go to her ex-boyfriend's home with his wife and him and their children to eat dinner, watch a movie. The neighbors seen them leaving, and they went to the grocery store, which was verified. They went to a couple other places, and everyone's seen them together. That was all established, that they were all together at the apartment. He's stating that he dropped her off. The wife is stating that she doesn't know what time he came back. She was asleep. That night, he did keep their child. And I found that somewhat a little odd because they had school the next day.
And there was no witnesses that...
Nobody seen nor heard anyone come back to her apartment that night.
I have asked Rocky to run a remote spirit box session.
Kimberly ever get dropped off, back off at the apartment?
We are trying to contact any spirits who may have any information.
Kimberly, can you tell me what happened to you? Did somebody hurt Kimberly? Kimberly Sue Jones dead?
Killed.
And what's your theory on what happened to your sister?
To be quite honest, if I base it off the last person to see her, they always look at the last person. The apartment didn't look like anyone had come back. No personals were missing, just her and her purse. No anything else. Her medicine, appointments, all that were on the calendar. There was nothing. So it's almost as if she left and just never came back.
Can you tell me what happened to Kimberly Sue Jones the night that she got dropped off? How were you killed?
Around 3 o'clock, Kim had called to say, we're going over there. My mother waited and waited and never received a call back to see how it went. She was actually the one who called the police to report Kim not returning. My mother felt that she should wait, couldn't get answers, so felt she should wait.
Is your sister the type of person to just up and vanish? Has she ever done that before?
When she was younger, for a couple days, she might, before she had children, she was going to court, and it was supposed to be in March, and she didn't appear for that or a medical procedure for either one. So she was at the high point of her life. She had got her new place, child was going to school, doing really well, and she had received money from a death benefit check from her dad. She was saving it to get a license in a car. We know for a fact that was in her purse when she disappeared, and it's never been cashed. The way it's worked out is because she didn't show up to court for custody, that they automatically gave the father the custody of the child, and he instantly removed her from public schooling and has homeschooled her for the remainder of her schooling. I haven't seen nor heard, I have no contact, so she's 18 now, so we're hoping that she contacts the family and gets involved.
Kimberly, did you go out with these people to party? Do you have a message for your daughter?
And when you guys initially reported your sister missing, what all happened after that?
The police came to the apartment. They looked around. They said it didn't look unusual. It's been a hard time getting any media, any help, any investigation. They could not find anything in the apartment. All of her personals are still there. The newspaper on the table, everything coincided with February 3rd. Parkersburg is divided out in sections. You have the north side, then you have the south side. Kimmy was on the north side. It's a really pretty place, lots of shopping. It's an old town. There's a lot of wooded areas, highways. I've ran Social Security checks, and there's no activity as of February 3rd whatsoever.
We know from looking at the weather reports from February 2009, it was extremely cold with a lot of snow. We believe this would almost make it impossible for Kimberly to be buried. Also, the rivers were frozen at this time, making it highly unlikely that she was placed in the river.
Kimberly, did they bury your body? Yes. Can you tell me why they hurt you?
It's separated a lot of the relatives because everybody has their own opinion, and some people seem to have just given up. My mom passed away, my grandparents passed away. A lot of the support systems are just shutting down, and there's not much left. In the beginning, there was a lot of misunderstandings between the police department, neighbors, relatives, and witnesses. And they need to readdress it. She was single at the time of disappearing. She had just previously broke up with an ex-boyfriend, and it was a short, brief relationship. She had met him through a cousin. He was quite a bit older than her, and he had been incarcerated. Kim did not know that he had a history, and my aunt had found it online. So she went to Kim and said, hey, this man has a history. She told me she broke up with him and that she was nervous about it and did not want to be at the door. My sister was frightened of this man. She was scared because she felt he had a history. She just wanted to break it off and let this man go, you know. I was not there for that conversation. I found it quite odd as to how upset over a simple breakup at a door was for him. They investigated him, they did lie detector tests. I know they said that they felt he was not.
And what was he incarcerated for?
Assault on a previous female. So he does have a history, so there's several suspects in this case.
Is there another guy that you was involved with?
It was something that her and her daughter had drawn together.
So the Child Protective Services, what was that about?
I'm really not sure. I do know that they had come in and checked the home, and that was their findings. It was said that the ex-boyfriend and his wife had called and reported some type of reports towards her prior to her disappearance, and she felt that they were trying to make her look bad for court.
So CPS, after their investigation, found that there was no abuse taking place.
Correct.
And the risk that abuse or neglect may occur in the future was also found to be minimal or low.
Right. This is where it gets interesting. The family friend. It states in the police report the family friend came to the apartment with and met my mother and the police there with a key to my sister's apartment.
There was no signs of a struggle inside the apartment?
No, no signs of a struggle inside the apartment. In fact, the porch light was on so long that it had burnt out, and I found some notes that she had made, plus that she had an operation coming up, and this is the operation paper. She had notes with that are personal, which makes me question as well what could have been going on.
What's that got to do with?
I'll show you. Let's see if I can get it here. This was next to the newspaper, which was with this paper for the surgery. That's not what disturbs me. What disturbs me is when you open it, and you open it up to this side, and it's her new address, mind you. She's only been at this apartment a short while. Why is she calling to report to a local police or local news company with the detective glasses? His new wife lived right up the street from Kim. They did get married, and he runs a garbage service. He's always been very nice to our family when he was with my sister. I never heard of him ever being physical or violent, not even raising his voice. 2 weeks prior to Kim vanishing, he visited her, gave her some money. When he did the lie detector test through the Parkersburg Police Department, failed his lie detector test. He would have been the closest guy to her at the moment when she disappeared. Sexually active with him, he was still helping her with money. They said that he failed it, but he only failed it on that section.
Is there any proof that she was dropped back off at her apartment that night?
None. Absolutely zero proof that she was dropped back off at the apartment. None. Door was still locked, porch light still on, nobody there.
Kimberly, after you left the get-together, where did you go?
The wife said that she had decided that the daughter could stay the night and that they were keeping the child, and that the ex-boyfriend took her home and dropped her off and came back, but she was asleep when he came back, so she didn't know what time he came back.
What did they hurt you with? Did your ex have anything to do with your disappearance?
The police made a statement that that box was tampered with, that there were gaps in calls or some sort of significance with that call box. That there was a gap in the calling. Someone had deleted numbers off of her voice box.
If something happened to your sister at the apartment, would people have noticed or heard something?
According to the neighbors, you could pretty much hear each other. And they flat out said when Kim would open her front door that it would make like a screech, and that they could hear and feel it in their upper apartment. They said they did not hear anybody come back to her apartment that night. That they were up late and that they heard nothing. And there was another neighbor on the right side. She said no. She's up all night. She sits up all night, she said, an elderly woman. She said that no lights No car lights pointed towards her apartment. He said instead of pulling into the parking lot, which would have lit up Kim's front door, he just pulled up and she got out. You know, maybe he's telling the truth. Maybe he did drop her off, she hopped out. There's a huge possibility of different things that could have happened to my sister. 5 days after that night that the police were literally called to make her police report, my mom had not called. She just kept it to herself. When she called me 5 days later, I said, it's been 5 days. You should have called the first night. The man had a child, so why didn't he call? Why didn't he care that whether she called the next day to check on the child? Why didn't he ask 2 to 3 days later, when's she gonna get back? You know, it just felt like no matter what you ask this man, he's not gonna be helpful. When Kim had the baby, him and his new wife, which was just friends with him, showed up at my mother's apartment and he announced to my sister, hey, we don't need you. I'm gonna marry her and we're gonna get custody of the baby and she's gonna be her mother and you can just go somewhere. He does not want to help find Kim at all. He refused a lie detector test. There's someone amongst this circle that knows where Kim's at. They know where she's at. She didn't have the means to leave. And if she did have the means to leave, she didn't use it. A $1,400 check in your purse is money.
Kimberly, can you give me the location of the check?
Would your sister ever commit suicide? Would that be an option?
Never. I don't see it, because if she would have been in that type of sort of thinking, it would have been early on in life, when life was even more stressful. She never, not even mentioned, oh, I'm gonna hurt myself or anything. She didn't have that outlook. She would just be quiet and sit back and wait and see what was happening. No, I do not feel my sister would have hurt herself. I don't see her leaving. She didn't take nothing with her because all her medication was on the microwave. No clothes were gone, just her coat, her purse, and herself. Neighbors said that the day that Kim left that she was gone and they were up late. The other neighbor said she was up late, and they said they see nobody pull in. Nobody pulled into the parking lot around Kim's apartment. And they said they did not ever hear her door open that night. The answers could be right in front of everybody's face. They just don't have the knowledge that somebody else might have. It's hard to find answers, especially this long a time that's went by. Kim would not stay away from our family. She would have called my birthdays, holidays. She would always call and say, oh, Merry Christmas. Thanksgivings we did together in Parkersburg. Since then, we've not had a Thanksgiving there. I just don't see her leaving her daughter. She loved that little girl so much. She loved her mom. I don't see her leaving, not willingly. And I don't see her committing suicide because it just wasn't in her nature. Like I said, there were some way harder times that she got through, and never once did she mention any of that sort. And it's sad that she had to go to her grave not knowing where her baby was at.
Kimberly, where'd they place your body? Can you give me a name of a town that you're close to? Kimberly, can you see a road sign that your body's by? Kimberly, they can't hurt you no more, so you can tell me who hurt you.
It is clear there were several people in Kimberly's inner circle. Several of these men have been cleared from having anything to do with Kimberly's disappearance. A few other men could be linked to her disappearance.
My name is James E. Jones. Met her in the garbage bag, tied up with a white rope with her hands for feet, and a rope tied around the top of the bag, up there at our farm. You'll find her. She's on the logging road on our land going up the hill. As soon as you get to where it starts going steep up the hill, to the left, and a shallow grave, which if you have the cadaver dog, there'll be no trouble finding her. She'll be there. She'll have on a gold and silver watch and whatever, but she won't have her glasses on. I left her clothes on her. I'm a misfit in this world. I don't fit. And she didn't either. And when I saw her one time and she said, James, I think it was like saying, James, thank you. But listen, I have to be stopped. I can't keep on killing like this. Because I get these urges. There's going to be a few more people that are going to die sooner than later, but I have, there are 4 bodies out in Braxton County on our farm. We have 96 acres. They're buried well. I've been doing this now for 4 years. I had that camp rancher for about 4 years almost. And I've been killing women and taking them out there at night and burying them. But I will tell you that there's 4 bodies at the farm. See what happens.
Can you tell me who was Kimberly with the night that she went missing? We wanted to run a second spirit box session and compare that with the information we documented earlier. Kimberly, if you can hear us, can you give us a sign, please? Can you tell us how you were hurt? Can you tell me where your body was taken to? Can you tell me what you're near? Can you tell me, does his wife know what he did? Kimberly, can you tell me who shot you? Can you tell me what your body's near? Are you closer to his house or your apartment? Are you in a woods? You know what road or street you're near? Kimberly, is your body in a park? Are you able to see what is close to your body? Trees. Is there a sign or anything that you can see that's close to your body that we can look for? I need you to try really hard. What do you see?